The legendary black and white movie Citizen Kane is back in the news due to Mank dropping on Netflix. So we decided to ask some Gen Z film fans what they think about this old-timey movie.
Hi guys, I'm Sabrina.
Yo, what's up, y'all? This is RB3. I'm 23 years old.
Born in 97, so I'm 23, right on the cusp of Gen Z, and I'm a huge film fan.
I am a film fan, film school graduate, film lover in general.
Have you seen this movie before? And if so, what were your first thoughts?
Well, the first time I saw Citizen Kane was at a screening at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences with my best friend Oswaldo Felix. They were showing it to highlight the sound design of the film. So when I first saw it, I actually got exposed to like how the movie was mixed and like the sound elements that they incorporated into the storytelling, and that really transformed like my viewing and understanding of that movie.
The first time I saw the film, I was about 15 years old. I was in film club in high school. And so one of the kids in film club, he actually recommended we watch it one week. So my first thoughts when I saw it, I didn't really like that kid as much. So I thought it was a little bit pretentious of a pick. He always acted like he was better than anybody else. So I don't think I was at that age to really appreciate it fully.
What did you think of the black and white?
I really appreciate the black and white. I don't prefer it kind of in that kind of format or medium, but as something that kind of really encapsulates that time period, I think we get to see a lot of the sets and the lighting and shadows really pop in black and white. So that's something I could appreciate about it.
Now that you've seen this movie again, how do you feel the film's themes translate to the present time?
I think the themes presented in Citizen Kane are very relevant today because it deals with a lot of economic turmoil, right? The fact that we see this like rise and fall story, traditional capitalist structure that, you know, America has kind of lived in.
Don't you think it's rather unwise to continue this philanthropic enterprise? This inquirer that's costing you $1 million a year?
You're right, Mr. Thatcher. I did lose $1 million last year. I expect to lose $1 million this year. I expect to lose $1 million next year. You know, Mr. Thatcher, at the rate of $1 million a year, I'll have to close this place in 60 years.
We obviously have a lot of highlight on the media and corruption, vanity, what it takes to kind of the people that you have to step on to get to the top and how lonely it is at the top. And sometimes a lot of these materialistic things don't necessarily add up to a very full life.
It isn't just the time, it's what you print, attacking the president.
You mean Uncle John?
I mean the president of the United States.
He's still Uncle John. He's still a well-meaning fathead who's letting a pack of high-pressure crooks run his administration. This whole oil scandal.
He happens to be the president, Charles, not you.
That's a mistake that will be corrected one of these days.
Charles Foster Kane is a villain or a hero?
You know, I think Charles Foster Kane is the hero of his own story.
I think he's kind of right in that middle sweet spot. I don't think he's necessarily a villain or a hero. He dies alone with his ambitions and everything and kind of this shallow life. So it's that sweet spot in the middle.
You don't care about anything except you. You just want to persuade people that you love them so much that they ought to love you back. Only you want love on your own terms.
Toast, Jedediah, to love on my terms. Those are the only terms anybody ever knows.
Is he an overall bad guy? Absolutely, he's terrible. But is he doing it with bad intentions? Not necessarily. I think it's the debate of nature versus nurture, and I think in the case of Charles Foster Kane, he definitely was nurtured in a bad environment.
What that kid needs is a good thrashing.
That's what you think, is it, Jim?
Yes.
That's why he's going to be brought up where you can't get at him.
What do you think Charles Foster Kane's character legacy should be?
I feel like when we look at a character like that, it should kind of be a cautionary tale on how the pursuit, not necessarily the pursuit of wealth, because he gained wealth at a very young age, but how it costs a lot in your life. It damages his social life, his relationships, his reputation in a lot of ways. And even though you have everything, you can still have nothing at the same time and just really have that kind of shallow life.
How do you think this movie compares to movies nowadays?
I think Citizen Kane is a very revolutionary movie when it came out, and I think it breaks a lot of rules. I think when you look at the cinematography of it, from the sound design of it to the editing and the non-linear storytelling and the jumping all over timelines, a lot of movies today have actually taken a lot from that style.
There's moments in the film, especially upon a rewatch, that I see stuff from Fincher, Wes Anderson, Spielberg, Scorsese, some of the most acclaimed filmmakers working today. But at the time that it came out, if you're a fan of the history of cinema and everything around that period of time, you can recognize how revolutionary it is. Now, will modern audiences think that? Who's to say?
Last question. Is Citizen Kane the greatest movie of all time?
I think there's an argument that can be made that Citizen Kane is the most technically perfect movie of all time when it comes to how technically perfect it is in achieving like everything in frame being in focus. That was something that had never been done to that point. To redefining what it means to have a temporal structure and storytelling with multiple perspectives. I think there are a lot of great examples of how, you know, sound and filmmaking and editing and cinematography and all of these different varying techniques all contribute to making this one of the most technically perfect movies of all time.
I think it's definitely earned its reputation. It was a landmark in cinema, and it has its place in the history of cinema. So I think if we're looking over the last century, it is definitely one that stands out. To think that it came out about 80 years ago, and people still talk about it to this day, I think that's a thing that should be celebrated. But I don't necessarily think it's the best movie ever made.
I think it's the greatest. I can't personally say that because I haven't seen every movie ever made, so I can't make that final judgment.
From the movies you've seen, is it the greatest movie?
From the movies I've seen, I've connected with movies that have come out a little more recently. Not necessarily because they are more recent, but I think sometimes certain themes and certain ideas translate to various generations in various different ways. And while Citizen Kane is absolutely amazing, and I can absolutely acknowledge its presence and its historic place in cinema history, I cannot say that I have the same kind of personal connection to this movie as opposed to some of my other favorite movies.
Do you prefer modern films to these type of old-timey films?
I wouldn't say I prefer modern films. I actually really, really love French New Wave cinema. So I love films kind of from all over, all in the past few decades. I love a little bit here and there. This just isn't one that I tend to really watch frequently. Obviously, this is only my second time rewatching it. Maybe in 10 years we could get back together and make another video about this one. But yeah, I like a little bit of everything. This one just doesn't really stick to me personally.
How do your thoughts compare to these two Gen Zers? Do you like Citizen Kane? Have you rewatched this movie? Let us know in the comments down below, and make sure to subscribe to First Cut if you haven't done so already for more movie talk.